Good evening and welcome to another edition of Jaime's Take. Tonight we're going to be looking at condos and co-ops, both from this perspective of the potential renter, as well as some information for owners who may wish to sublet their units to prospective renters. So co-ops and condos are a feature of the New York real estate landscape that you're going to see extremely commonly here, much more so than you will in a great many other places. So condominiums and co-ops are different because they are a structured environment, okay? And they have a board that governs both the financial and the operating status of the building. So when you're looking at a condo, you're looking at a unit that is real property owned by the unit owner. And condos don't typically have any sort of restrictions on subletting, how much you can sublet or when you can sublet. It's real property. The owner can rent it out. The prospective tenant is still going to experience a board interview process, and it mirrors very much the similar way that it is done for a purchase application. A co-op, however, is a different style of ownership. In a co-op, an owner of a unit is technically a shareholder in the corporation that is the building. They have a right to lease in perpetuity, but it is not real property. And because they are shareholders in the corporation, the amount of subletting a particular or any of the units are allowed to be leased or sublet out for may be a product of the rules of the co-op. In many co-ops, that may mean a owner may have to reside there for a specific number of years, perhaps 2 of 5, before subletting is allowed to occur. Largely, I think this is intended to foster an environment in co-op buildings that is largely owner-dominated. So for the prospective renter, what is the experience in condos and co-ops that one should expect if one wants to apply to live in one? For the prospective renter, you're probably going to apply to the individual unit owner, much like you will for a regular apartment. You're going to provide proof that you're financially able. You're going to provide proof of your job, as well as your identity. And those will come in the general format of bank statements, work letter, taxes, ID, pretty standard stuff. In this current market, like I've been saying in a lot of my videos, and you should check back on them, tactics for impressing that owner would include displaying all of the wealth that you have that improves your case for them to choose you. In dealing in co-ops and condos, should that owner choose you, you're going to move on to the building's expectations for an application. And that's going to be a more expanded application. And I have one here for you, and they tend to come in a couple of different presentations. The classic one is the paper one here. In this type of application, you'll be required to give your application papers, a copy of your pay stubs, your taxes, many of these things that you've already produced before, as well as signed disclosures. And in both cases of the co-op and the condo, you're going to see a copy of the lease already prepared for the board to approve. Be prepared that in most condos and co-ops, that means you're going to submit your deposit and your security deposit and your first rent prior to approval. This is very often seen in the structure of the lease. Notice also that the costs of application are way higher. These environments are different than your standard rental in New York City that generally requires a $20 limit. There are usually move-in and move-out deposits. Those are usually refundable. There may be other fees involved. For the owners of units that wish to lease theirs out in dealing with an agent, they should deal with one that is very capable of dealing with this type of application. And they should also know that there may be potential fees for them as well. Perhaps a portion of the maintenance annually or monthly that is a fee for subletting the unit. So you'll encounter in these applications, things to fill out, the basic application, applicant's release, credit check, house rules. All of these things will be prepared, hopefully, by your trusty agent. Sometimes these applications come in a digital form known as board packager. They tend to have all the same sections, but a rather collaborative approach between agent, client, and owner to fill in and sign, almost like DocuSign, the different sections. Overall, what you wind up with is a very comprehensive package that will contain most of the financial information for the prospective, as well as their financial history. For owners that wish to lease their units, like I said before, they should be prepared for a certain amount of fees that may be a product of the cost of maintenance monthly or annually. In all cases, when you're dealing with co-ops and condos, you're looking at a much more protracted time as well for an application. Boards generally meet once a month. So this is one of the reasons why the lease is presented already signed by both parties with the rent and deposit up front. This ensures that everything is in place at the time of your approval so that you can go ahead with move-in. It also gives assurances to the shareholder or owner of the unit that over the course of a 2 or 3 week potential time period while your application is approved by the board, that you do not abandon the application and leave that landowner or shareholder without yet another month's worth of rent and definitely a month worth of work completed towards getting an applicant ready. That's the very short course on co-ops and condos and what to expect. I would say that if you're wishing to lease right now, if you own a unit, I think there's no better time than now. As I've been saying in my other videos, visible vacancy is very, very low. I am absolutely salivating over the next report. It should be out any day. The last statistic is 1.7% visible vacancy in New York City, less in some neighborhoods. So if you are considering leasing your unit, or you attempted to last year and decided against it or weren't getting the rent that you wanted, now is the time. I've been approaching owners with this who haven't noticed these changes in the market, that the rent that they so desired in previous years is at their doorstep right now. And there's a great chance to grab that. I think that the rental climate that we're in right now, however hot and heavy it is, I think it's not going away. I don't see an end in sight to this, especially with no change in inventory, the push to come back to work in New York City. All of those things are coming together to feed into that frenzy. So I highly recommend that if you are in the market right now for a unit, that you get together with an agent that often has contacts within their own offices and others. They may know about units that are not on market. They may know about upcoming units that you're not seeing on Street Easy. I was able to achieve that just last week with somebody. I didn't even wind up marketing it past my Corcoran webpage. I had a tenant practically instantly through an agent within my own company that I knew. With those things in mind, one of the things you are going to experience in the condo and co-op environment that is going to be different than a rental potentially is that co-op and condo environments, as I said before, are highly owner dominated. You're not going to find electric guitars playing at 3 a.m. It would be more likely in a rental. You're going to see the care of the amenities and the upkeep and maintenance of the building and those amenities is going to be higher in these owner-dominated habitats. This even just the processing of packages and security, the number of porters that are helping out with various tasks in the building are usually a lot greater in condos and co-ops. So while you may be seeing, fees to go in, application costs, there's a lot of benefits to be realized living in condo and co-op buildings. So when you're going through an application process for a rental, it may be very complicated, especially at first glance. It's great to have somebody on your side who does this on a daily basis. That's also true if you are planning to sublet a unit that you own. You're going to want an agent who is able to quickly familiarize himself with the management of a building, its application requirements, and the managing agent with whom they may be interacting to make this application work. At the end of the day, my object is always to help you realize your rental or renter's dreams. You can always reach out to me. This is a very quick talk tonight, and I'd love to hear your suggestions for what you would like me to cover in the New York real estate market. You should always look out for an agent who doesn't sleep until you have a place to. And for me tonight, that's what I have for you. Please leave your remarks in the comments section below, as well as suggestions for future videos. Thank you so much. That's enough for me today.